Okay, just try and picture this for a second.
Yeah.
Someone's switching, like, totally seamlessly between dozens of languages.
Yeah, not just speaking them, but really getting inside them, you know?
Exactly. Like that person mentioned in our source in Boston. Handling English, Mandarin, Arabic, Persian. Gosh, over 2 dozen.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
It's mind-boggling when you think about it.
It really is. Which brings us to the big question for this deep dive. How on earth does the human brain do that?
How does it manage learning all that, storing it, using it without just short-circuiting?
Linguistic chaos, yeah. Well, that's what we're digging into, and our main source is this really groundbreaking study from MIT neuroscientists.
Dr. Fedorenko and Alessia Zhuravlev's work.
That's the one, published in Cerebral Cortex. And the title kind of gives the game away, but also makes you think. The small and efficient language network of polyglots and hyperpolyglots.
Small and efficient. That's the kicker, isn't it?
Totally. Because right off the bat, the study hits you with this major surprise, the big takeaway. These polyglots, even the ones speaking 10, 20, 50 plus languages.
They don't have bigger brains.
No. Or like bigger language centers working overtime.
It's the opposite, which is so fascinating. The research shows they actually have smaller language networks. But, and this is the key part,
More efficient.
way more efficient. Alessia Zhuravlev had that great analogy in the study.
Our car one.
Yeah, exactly. Like upgrading a car, you're not adding more parts, making it physically bigger. You're tuning the engine you have.
Making it run smoother, faster, using less fuel.
Precisely. Their brains aren't bulkier. They're just running this incredibly optimized system for language.
That really changes how you think about it, doesn't it? Not about more hardware, but better software, kind of.
Or maybe just better use of the hardware.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this study. What exactly did they find? How did they figure out this efficiency thing?
And crucially, what does it mean for you listening? Whether you're learning a language or just curious about what the brain can do.
Yeah, what are the key nuggets here? Let's get into it.
Okay, so the setup is important. They looked at 17 polyglots and hyperpolyglots.
Hyperpolyglots being, what, 10 or more languages usually?
Typically, yeah. And they compared their brain activity using fMRI scans.
Right, watching the blood flow, basically.
Compared them to monolinguals, bilinguals, and trilinguals while they were reading sentences. In English, specifically.
And they also use non-words, right, as a baseline.
Exactly, meaningless letter strings to isolate the language processing. And they were focused on comprehension, understanding, not speaking.
Looking at that high-level stuff, syntax, meaning.
How the brain puts it all together. And they zeroed in on that frontotemporal language network.
Which is like the main hub for language understanding, sort of front and sides of the brain.
That's the general area, yeah. The core system. And this is where they saw that efficiency difference pop out.
So it wasn't just more lights flashing on the fMRI for polyglots.
No, quite the opposite in a way. The activation was more selective, more focused.
Selective. Meaning it wasn't wasting energy on unnecessary processing. It just knew where to go.
Pretty much. The same basic brain regions were involved as in monolinguals, but the activated spots within those regions were often physically smaller, more compact.
Huh. Like a finely tuned instrument.
Exactly. Highly tuned. It processed the language really effectively, but seemingly with less spread out neural effort. That's the efficiency.
Which just flies in the face of that common sense idea that more languages must mean more brain power or more areas working harder.
Right. It suggests the brain gets better at using the resources it already has, refining the network.
Okay, so that immediately makes you wonder, are these people just born this way?
The classic nature versus nurture question.
Yeah, are they genetic freaks with super brains, or did they develop this efficiency through learning? The study looked into their backgrounds, didn't it?
They did. And the source is really clear. These weren't all child prodigies. They came from all sorts of backgrounds.
Students, professionals in totally unrelated fields. People just doing it for fun.
Yeah, no single genius profile emerged.
Gold. There were some common threads in how they learned, right? Some shared strategies or experiences.
Definitely. That's a really important takeaway. A lot of them started learning languages fairly early, but not exclusively as kids.
Okay.
Immersion was a big one. Either living where the language is spoken or being really active about creating that environment themselves.
Makes sense. Lots of self-study too, I gather, using apps, audiobooks.
Online communities, really taking charge of their own learning process.
But beyond just the how, the study pointed to something deeper. about their motivation.
Oh, absolutely. This was striking. Many of them talked about having this deep, almost emotional connection to language itself.
Not just seeing it as a tool for, getting a job or ordering coffee.
Right. It was a genuine passion, a source of curiosity. Like, they loved the structures, the sounds, the way languages work.
You really see that in the example they gave of Poly 11. This person speaks over 50 languages.
50. It's incredible. And the range? Common ones, sure, but also things like Quechua, Esperanto.
Even constructed languages like Lojban. What drives someone to learn Lojban?
Well, he apparently described learning languages as being like solving puzzles.
Okay, I could see that.
And he said each new language felt like opening a door to a different way of thinking.
Wow. That perspective language as a portal, not just a code that feels really connected to that emotional drive, that passion.
I think so too. And linking back to the born or made thing, there was the IQ data.
Right. What did that show? Were they all geniuses?
Well, they were generally above average, yeah, but not like stratospherically high, not genius level across the board.
So what does that suggest?
It really strengthens the idea that becoming a polyglot, developing this brain efficiency, it's less about some innate super high IQ.
And more about
dedication, strategy, finding methods that work for you, and probably having that underlying passion that keeps you going. Mindset seems huge.
Okay, so if it's not just about being born superhuman, if it's more about approach, what does this mean for the rest of us?
Yeah, for you listening right now, maybe you're struggling with French class or just fascinated by learning.
What's the hope here?
I think the study offers a really optimistic view. If the brain can be trained through practice and smart methods to handle something incredibly complex, like dozens of languages, with this kind of efficiency,
then maybe our own brains are more trainable than we think, for language or other things.
Exactly. It suggests our potential for cognitive development, for learning, is really adaptable. We can optimize it.
There was that great quote from Dr. Fedorenko.
Oh yeah, that summed it up perfectly. She said, polyglots aren't superhuman.
They've simply found ways to make their brains work more effectively with language.
And if they can do it, maybe we all can with the right tools and techniques.
That's pretty inspiring, actually.
Yeah.
Puts the power back in our hands, in a way.
It does. And the source briefly touches on what this could mean down the line, maybe for education.
Right, like could we design language courses differently?
Imagine curricula focused not just on vocab lists, but on actively training brain efficiency, teaching strategies to build those selective, compact networks.
Or those AI learning platforms they mentioned.
Yeah, adapting to your specific brain patterns to help you build stronger connections faster. It's speculative, sure, but fascinating possibilities.
Of course, like any good science, this study opens up more questions too.
Right? Always. Like, how does the brain physically organize all these different languages? Are similar languages stored near each other?
Does the order you learn them in matter for efficiency?
We don't really know yet. And that other big question, do polyglots genuinely have better general cognitive skills, memory, attention, problem solving beyond language?
Or is it just that learning so many languages is such a workout that it looks like they're better at everything?
Exactly. Is it a transferable skill or specific to the language domain? Future research needs to tease that apart. Probably need longer studies, following people over time.
It's complex stuff.
Definitely. But the source wraps it up nicely, bringing it back to that beauty of Babel idea. Polyglots kind of embody unity, bridging cultures.
And their brains reflect that somehow. Compact, efficient, tuned.
Yeah, exquisitely tuned to navigate this incredible diversity of human expression.
So let's just recap that core, really surprising takeaway from our deep dive today.
The brain handles this massive linguistic complexity, not by getting bigger or working harder in a brute force way.
That's that through efficiency, refinement, getting incredibly good with the machinery it already has.
Becoming lean and mean, linguistically speaking.
Yeah. And for you listening, the message is pretty encouraging, isn't it?
Very. Your brain isn't fixed. It's adaptable. It can be trained. It can become more efficient.
So here's the final thought to chew on. If the human brain, through dedication, the right strategies, and maybe a bit of that passion we talked about,
can basically rewire itself to handle dozens of languages so efficiently.
What other amazing cognitive feats might your brain be capable of mastering? If you find the right approach, the right mindset, what else could efficiency unlock for you?